Get started. I just want to make very quick remarks to welcome you to JAM, Junction Arts and Media. I'm Samantha Davidson-Green, and I'm Executive Director here. And I'm so excited to see what's going to happen tonight. Jolivette and I have this unbelievable connection that goes back a very long time to a land far away, and then our lives crossed here again in Vermont. So that's particularly exciting. But you just made a promise to our audience that their lives are going to be changed, and there's going to be a before and an after in your life, based on what you're about to experience. So let's just get started. But I just want you to feel that JAM is one of your homes in Vermont, here in White River Junction, whenever you're passing through. We're here every day of the week. We have obviously a space that we like to welcome creative people with ideas for how they want to use it. We do operate 2 cable channels, so we're going to be recording this to share it with local audiences. And we're just really honored to have all of you here sharing your work. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Drew.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm Drew Frazier, Managing Director of Sundog Poetry. Very happy to be here tonight. As a Burlingtonian, it's always nice to get out of the Chittenden County bubble and check out the art scene in other parts of the state. Big fan of JAM. Love that this is being recorded, so we'll get some good content out of this. Before we get started tonight, just a few announcements. Obviously, I do want to thank JAM again for being such gracious hosts here and being such an amazing resource for arts and culture in the Upper Valley. I'd like to thank Vermont Humanities. We frankly would not be here tonight without them, and we wouldn't be doing a lot of what we do at Sundog Poetry without their ongoing support. So thank you to Vermont Humanities and JAM. Yeah, absolutely. Let's give it a round of applause. Thank you. Also, tonight's event was curated in partnership with Clemens Family Farm and the Vermont African American and African Diaspora Artists Network. If you're not familiar with the work they do, definitely check out clemensfamilyfarm.org to learn more about what they're doing in Vermont. We have in the back a table with some books for sale. We've got some past Sundog Poetry Book Award winners back there, some other titles. Diana Whitney and Djeli also have some work back there, so definitely check that out. And the lineup tonight, how this is going to work, you'll see some programs on these tables here. We're going to be going in reverse order. So Diana Whitney will be starting us off here in a few moments, and we will go up that list. And just to keep things flowing and to get you all out of here before 9 o'clock, I'll keep things brief, and in lieu of introductions, I would direct you to that program where there are bios of all of tonight's presenters. So look at that for more information about them. And I also just want to make one more announcement. If you are a poet here in the Upper Valley, I'm sure you know about this group already, but Lampshade Poets. They do regular events. If you'd like to learn more about them, check out the JAM website. I think they meet on a monthly basis. So definitely recommend checking them out. So enough from me. Without further ado, please welcome tonight's lead-off poet, Diana Whitney.
Great. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, JAM. It's awesome to be here. I'm honored to be batting first on the lineup. And what a great lineup it is. And I'm excited to hear everybody's work. My book, Dark Beds, just came out last month in October. So I'll do just, a little sampling from the book and talk a little bit extemporaneously about some of the origins of some of the poems. This is a hiking trail which some of you who live in the area might be familiar with. Velvet Rocks. That August, in a cotton smock, I hoofed up velvet rocks, 40 weeks to the day, full up to my sternum with baby. The elastic band of my bike shorts rode low beneath my belly, panting like a wolfhound, cranky and hot. All I wanted was to get you out of me. So I tramped the granite switchback lined with mosses, arms swinging the humid summer forest, as the sun rose higher above the valley, the river snaking between two states, how matter shifts, firm to yielding, solid to liquid, liquid to air. I'd done all my homework, read all the books, practiced my breathing, my hypno-visualization, swallowed evening primrose oil each morning, slid the golden capsules deep inside where they melted like honey to soften the cervix. And you dropped into the pelvic bowl, sunny side up. Ready or not, here we come. Keep walking, they said. So I hauled you up velvet rocks to the shelter where I'd camped at 19, ate watermelon by firelight, a stone's throw from the tiled hospital, the mechanical bed beaded with sweat, ice cubes on my forehead as if on a skillet, your skull bearing down, your neck arched back. You were navigating the tunnel. We were digging deeper. The summer river green and flecked with amber, suspended between two states of matter, between out and in, between here and there, S-curves of current shifting, alluvial silt filtered through algae, bright scalpel, your blood, my blood, white curtain drawn tight, bright room like a boat where they hauled you in, thrashing. The first time I read this, my 16-year-old was in the room, and I had to say, I'm sorry for telling your birth story to the audience. My mom died at the end of September, and there's some poems in this book about her long journey with Alzheimer's. And it's a little bittersweet reading these now, but it also feels important. This poem's called Word Finding. And that's one of the first symptoms of the early stages of Alzheimer's, a very debilitating symptom, aphasia, struggling to find words. But this was my way of finding some healing in the midst of the loss. Word finding for my mother. 3 words we must never speak. Do you remember? My question is a stone thrown into the deep waters of our conversation. Anxiety ripples outward, tip of the tip of the tip of the tongue. I'm sorry, I can't. Words slip past, scatter like minnows in a dark lake. Awareness of the sense, but not the syllables. Slippery things moving in reeds and shadows. Don't hunt them. Don't grasp. Cast a net lightly, and the words swim back, finned silver, triumphant, as we row the lake again in our quiet boat, all eyes and hands. All right, I'm going to move forward into a later section of this book. Poets in the room may understand, people in especially writers I knew, told me to write a novel about some of the content that ended up in dark beds. And really the only way that I know how to make sense of my experience in the world is to make poems. So maybe you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about. Geography. The house shuddered all day, trying to cast me out, but I would not abandon. The wind, ravenous gusts, arrived in gasps through chinks in the plaster, rattled door jambs, spit snow shards on channels of glare ice. A whole geography took shape in a king bed. Vast continent of quilt where we played nice, turned and hugged the coasts. Caught in a net of half-truths, I thrashed like a landlocked panfish, slick with perilous hunger. And the story paid out its unseen line, thoughts unwinding in dark sheets. Phantom lover, like a barb in the gills, rasping, ruin me, take me, sink me in the water again. I'm going to just keep going in that same theme. This one's called Light Betrayal in August. These are sonnets, so they're all short, 14 lines. Get a little sense. Light betrayal in August. The night unspooled, slow as a ripple on a reed-choked pond, thick with the unsaid, unsung questions. What if? Why not? What if? How come? Tiny mouths like fish nipping the surface, teasing the moon out of the treetops. Belly down in soft grass, I watched a honeybee burrow into the tip of a foxglove and imagined your hands again, love, indecent at my little twilight tryst. Lace dress, a book, a beer, and a candle. I read and wrote and dozed, but didn't text you here. Promises kept, good girl. Go swallow summer hand over fist. Sweet basil, sun golds, like this, like this. Torched. All the garish flowers opened in midsummer, tiger lilies yawning on the road. Bordello blooms climbing over each other, bee balm, plume poppy, bronzy red and gold. I dragged the couch onto the summer porch in another careless gesture toward desire. You were the one who lit the torch with pollen, diesel, and meadow fire, cooled it with blackberries dripping juice, water pulled from an alpine spring. The cat unfurled herself on the car roof like a black velvet ribbon of longing. The hay lay knit and spun in torrid rows, falling in a blonde mess to the shoulders of the field. You coasted slow as syrup down the edge of my daydream, engine purring, windows down, rusty truck of trouble come back around. All right. You guys are a great audience. Okay, I'm gonna move further. I'm gonna do a November poem because that's where we are now. I write a lot about the seasons because what can you do here, right? So this one's called Staying Married. This book, I wrote it, there's an arc, it's 3 sections, conflict, crisis, resolution. That may or may not be obvious to any readers, but it was my organizing principle. So we've kind of reached the 3rd section. This one's called Staying Married. November drags her wet gray wool scarves across the valley, drapes a shroud of sky over bone branches, twig claws, the last dun remnants of leaves, still clinging to their origins. How can a thing change until it's unrecognizable? Do you remember the verdant tips venturing forth in April, tender explosions suffused with tentative light? All that budding energy untapped and humming, sweet rage of chlorophyll, beholden to no one, our fingers loosely entwined on the path. We thought we were different. We thought we were free. Now I'll trade my truth for your fiction, settle for some light reading or heavy petting, carry my overload into the underworld for winter's duration. Trajectory of the fallen, the last of the orchard cleanup cooked down into thick, sweet, rose pink sauce, no hint of tart. Our bodies orbiting the gas blue fires, drawn inexorably to the simmering pot, cinnamon taste of appeasement, atonement, what we've made of it, what we've got. So, let's read a couple more. I have a poem in here about my dog, so if there's any dog aficionados here. It's also about, this book took a really long time to come into the world. Starts with a, birth poem, and in this poem, the children who I write about in the first section of the book are now in middle school. So that gives you a sense. I'm sort of a follower of slow writing, like the slow food movement. This is called Dumb Blonde. Why do the girls mock even the puppy, bumbling through snow on big golden paws, so loyal, so trusting, all melty-eyed innocence, waggling her rear like a hula skirt, rolling on her back to expose her belly fur to any stranger in the road? She's eager for a word or a pat, the sheer bliss of stroking, how she closes her eyes and splays her legs, rag doll, baby dog, offering up her softness. Pathetic. They call her dumb blonde, laugh at her groveling, hide her toys, feed her a glob of peanut butter and snort at her tongue, working overtime, compulsive creature lapping its need in quick, pink, humiliating hunger. Dumb blonde, they smirk. Don't insult her, I say. She doesn't know, they protest, loving her up, rubbing her chest, spooning her on the living room rug, their gold hair burrowed in her thick coat. Yes, she's a love sponge, but she'll snap if you make a move for her marrow bone. She knows what she likes, won't hesitate to show it. When the boxer mounts her, she snarls like a jackal, spins and shakes him off, her signature move. Fierce bitch, stubborn bitch, sweet bitch with the fox blonde face, the only one I'll never have to teach. Gonna read, I think, 3 more. Actually, I'm gonna read this one that I read this to the crowd at the Brattleboro Literary Festival. There are a lot of New Yorkers, and I think they got a little bit grossed out. But I think I can read this to Vermont and New Hampshire folks who know what it's like to maybe live in an old house. It's called Mice. Who says women are afraid of mice? Today I trapped another 2, one in the basement, one beneath the sink, its neck snapped flat by the metal bar, black eyes bulging in the stench of drains and mouse shit. I wasn't sorry. I marched it dangling to the backfield, deposited it in dead November grasses. Back where you belong, buddy, a snack for crows and earthworms. Give them a hole the size of a dime, they'll infiltrate. Before bed, I check my traps again, lock the doors, check the children who are barely children. All the mouse cousins and babies are scrabbling in the walls, feeding all night on cellulose insulation. They're desperate to survive the coming winter. They want what we want, only they have to want it more. Okay. 2 more. This one's another one for my mom. It's called The Long Goodbye, which is another word for Alzheimer's. And her goodbye took about 10 years. And so it's bittersweet to read it, but also important to remember. The Long Goodbye. My man returns with a canvas bag of salmon, fresh lettuce, green leaves tipped with red ripped into the maple bowl, and the fat rose fillet laid out and rubbed with oil. He wants to talk about transference, and I want to talk about weather, how April snow falls and the flowers survive, the daffodils fold up and shiver through the storm. If there's a lesson here in patience, I don't want to hear it. At my mother's house, all the rugs are gone, so the wheelchair won't catch. Her bare floors are cleaner than they've ever been. No more pets or children, no more clutter. the strange peace of living without language or memory, the house ticking as she nods in the recliner, parting her lips for the spoon of ice cream. Her legs are 2 sticks, crooked in loose leggings. And my girls shoot up to 5.5 feet. And my man sears the salmon, feeds the skin to the dog, serves the pink steaks with salad in the humming mess of our kitchen. How can you savor what you have when it demands so much attention? Ticks are clinging with 2 legs to the grasses, sensing heat and carbon dioxide. They can feel us coming and seek out our skin. They love the warm places, armpits and groins, the crevice behind an ear. Run your fingers everywhere. Danger is the size of a sesame seed, a single brain cell, smaller. If I could, I'd make my mother walk and talk again. But what do I know of magic or redemption? Only the long goodbye. How tired we are of doing our best. Okay, last poem. It's the last poem in the book. Felt good to write. It was kind of that final, the arc coming to completion here. It's called Current. Years passed. I grew too old for danger. No more playing the nymph in the summer forest. No more thrill of secret trysts and haiku, every flower and seed imbued with meaning. Milkweed floating across the valley, aloft on thermals of longing. Goldenrod keeled over in rain, a gesture of surrender. Transgression was once the most interesting thing about me. Now I see we were tediously ordinary, lacking even the courage to destroy our lives. I feel nothing now except pinpricks of curiosity, the warmth and heft of household bonds. The goddess you mistook me for has vanished. Morning fog lifting to reveal the river, indifferent current rolling south to merge with a colder tide. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Diana. What a great way to start the event. So next up, we have poet, storyteller, world traveler, former Cirque du Soleil acrobat. Please welcome Djeli.
I want to thank the ancestors with great gratitude because they loved us into being, and I wouldn't want to start anywhere without remembering that. And thank you to your mother for inspiration of poetry. I will be reading from poems, excerpts from my latest book of poetry, the day after Juneteenth. And many of you know what Juneteenth is, so I won't even get into all the details of that. And that book, the inspiration of the works was based on what happened the day after. And as I shared with people in the process of writing, my aunt said, well, today is the day after Juneteenth. And it made it all come right back home. And tonight I thought about which poems I would share with you. And what came to me was homeland. And with all the things that are happening in the world right now, homeland is really important. And what does it mean to be home? And how do we let the land know that we belong? The first poem is PTSTOP. Why is it called post-traumatic when this is perpetual trauma? Every day you bring up Trayvon and George and Brianna and all. It is real, in real time, and right now, Go home to your reality show, your game show, your streaming binge, your online gaming while I go home and shut that down. I am so tired of the hurt. Reminding me of how much I hurt does not make the hurt less. I have the freedom to go wherever I want, but not the freedom to belong wherever I am. Please tell me where my people were stolen from. Please tell me what ship my ancestors were on when they landed here. Please tell me this is all a bad dream. Please tell me, 'cause I'm about to scream again. I know you haven't heard me scream, 'cause I know better. I go where y'all can't hear, 'cause my emotions are offensive. Black rage. The reason so many with brown skin are in a cage. I've managed to keep my voice down, hold back the yell. This body, this mind would lose it in a cell. I long to take my shoes off and feel the land, be it forest floor or beach sand. Take my shoes off, no more to roam. Let the land caress my feet and call me home. A home where I can fully feel, so I can shed this armor and fully heal. So sore to my core from this persistent stress, sleep I must find, so much need for rest. Tomorrow it all begins again, until those in comfort say, stop. The next poem is May I, and it came through the earth to me as I sat on a piece of land by a river, and at that time the land was near where my house was. I no longer live there, but that land still calls to me, and it reminded me of my grandfather. And my grandfather used to always, as he got older, when we'd go for drives, he would say, "We're going to build a cinder block house in the woods over there." And he had this dream of building a cinder block house. I don't know why, but we were going to do this thing together. And so this reminded me of my grandfather as it came through. May I live on this piece of land? If history serves, my life won't be long. I'm not asking to own it, 'cause all land is free. I would like a place to lay my head, to cast off my father's chains that have bound and still seek to control me. Granddad never got his 40 acres and a mule. He was set loose yet never set free. I'm sure he'd like me to collect the debt that is owed, and I know 'cause I've been told that this land ain't free. What I ask for is what is owed by his legacy surviving to me. May I live on this piece of land? When the people arrived and put stakes in the ground, who did they pay for the land that now is not free? When the people put up fences that contained slaves that looked a great deal like me, is that when the land became suddenly not free? May I live on this piece of land, please. Regardless of where I stray or how far I roam, this piece of land keeps calling me home. The rivers nearby converge. Spring transformation is wrought. The land remains not to be sold, not to be bought, to be lived on, to be loved on. May I live on this piece of land, please. The next poem is called Clarity. And if you will, just take a deep breath with me and let it out. And take another one and just register where that feels in your body and what it feels. What's tingling? What's feeling heavy? What's feeling light? Because that's real. Clarity. Inhale, exhale. Longing to become the air I breathe, wash away the color that divides me from others who are not the same. Clear my thought of fear, breathe in the air, breath changes me from all I am to clear. My hands are wet from washing away the stain from generations held enslaved. The air dries the wet from my hands. From the pain of my ancestors I am saved. Inhale. Exhale. The air washes clear my mind. To sleep, I must go. To sleep, I must go. When I wake, I will have left this all behind. I have a couple more, if you will indulge me. Thank you very much. This next one is called Where. Where does my blackness end and I begin? I may know the answer, but do you? My blackness is the price the Republic places on my person, and I know my value to be so much more. Eyes wide open, I can see there is a curse upon us. Eyes shut fast, I can see there is a curse upon us all. Raise your hand as high as you can reach. Come on, go ahead. Is it a black hand you raised, or is it a white hand? Look upon the person next to you on your right. Look upon the person next to you on your left. Are they black or are they white? What is their value? What are they worth? Are they worth more than you or less? With each question asked, where does your comfort end? For this person's life, how much would you spend? There is a curse upon us. Until you stop being white and I stop being black, this curse upon us will have no end. So I'm bringing it home. I got two more. And this poem is called Reminding Black Joy. And many of the poems I've written, there's a blackness to them. And it's something that I can't wash off, can't get rid of. And for a long time, I called myself black until I realized, and I owned that because black was the inclusion of all color in pigment. And I really love that idea that if I could be black, we all can be black. And I have since kind of washed that away, and I recognize myself as the brown-skinned descendant of enslaved Africans and indigenous Americans. And that really does put me in a place on earth of where I come from, as opposed to a creation in my mind of where I come from. Reminding black joy. A year of joy or a lifetime of joy gathered together, ever-changing, the sounds and songs of the elders cutting through lifetimes and lifetimes, blessing the blooms in Eva's garden. The iris scent, nourishment with my love, wholesomeness without looking over my shoulder. Listen now, listen now. The drums of Africa beat within. Let the cougars lovingly roam, and we dance, and we dance. We are the joy that I have searched for. We are the medicine that makes us whole. We are the joy. Rest now. You are home. I am home. I am home. And the process of poetry can be lonely at times. And even standing here before you, there's a separation. I'm the reader, you're the listener. And I come from many decades of performing where it's about the engagement with the audience. It's about the transformation that happens when we move together, when we breathe together, when we speak together, when we sing together. And this comes from the writing of, I had, in the day after Juneteenth, thinking about the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence was independence for some, not for all. And we are all independent, yet are we interconnected? Because that's when we really create a community. And so I wrote the Declaration of Interconnectedness. And there's a part where I need your help with. I will say, I declare that, and you will respond, please. We are one. So it would go, I declare that. We are one. I declare that. We are one. Every father's daughter, every mother's son. I declare that. We are one. We are all human. There is no race, so why must some of us run? I declare that. We are one. In order to restore joy to living, because hatin's playing with a loaded gun, I declare that. We are one. Until this mantra flows from every mouth, there is work to be done. I declare that. We are one. Rise up and look around. Brother to sister to brother to auntie to uncle to cousin. We must value and hold precious one another. I declare that. We are one. It must be repeated, it must be sung until it rings through the world like church bells rung. I declare that. We are one. Emancipate your mind, let past hurts be undone. I declare that. We are one. Let healing flow as the rivers run from the mountains tops to the valleys low under the darkest moon and in the blaze of the sun. I declare that. We are one. I declare that. We are one. I declare that. We are one. I've closed the book. I would like to add that this weekend I was reading over Diana's poems, and it was really great to hear the poems that I had read and just resonated with me in your voice. And I'm also grateful to have had the experience of doing the Sonic Blanket, which is a poem from Diana that I put my voice to her words. And I just want to thank you for who you are.
Thank you so much for that, Djeli. Declaration of interconnectedness. It was so interesting how at the end when we were speaking, like that changed a little bit and then merged with your voice at the end. So that was really great. Thank you for that. So we're gonna have a little musical interlude here between the poetry. So I'd like to welcome up here Nana.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous a little bit. Hi, my name is Nana. I am an independent musician based here in Vermont, in Colchester. I was originally born in West Lafayette, Indiana, which is a very flat place. But it was kind of fun growing up there a little bit. In my bio, I wrote that I'm a squid who makes squid music, and I wrote that because squids are very unique to me. They're my favorite animal, and I just feel like connected with squids because they're cool, and you know, they're in the ocean and they flow a lot, so that's cool. I started making music in about 2020, 2021, and I am like aspiring to be a professional musician because not only do I sing, I also produce and I also drum as well. So yeah, my hope is that I get to go to Berklee College of Music, and that's my one of my choices. But you know, it's still a whole process, you know. So I'm going to be performing 2 songs for you guys today. The first one is called I Can't Hear You, which is off of an album that I have coming out next year in the summer. And what that one is about specifically is basically not having a lot of communication in a relationship, and you know, just like there's not a lot of like trust there, and it's kind of, you know, a little bit toxic. So yeah, it's not always, you know, fun having those feelings. And the second song I'm gonna sing is called "Sad Goodbye." I wrote that in regards to me when I first moved to Vermont in 2021, and I was just missing my hometown. It was a little bit hard to get used to everything, but now I feel like Vermont has become kind of like a second home to me, and it's very cool, and there's mountains and rocks, so that's, yeah, that's, it's very nice. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Sing now? Okay, okay, okay. That's my mother, by the way. I'm sorry.
It's so quiet, I don't buy it. Gotta retry it. I gotta call you up, baby. I know you're busy, but I'm so dizzy. Feel like you're missing me. I can't live without you. Stand still. Wait till you bring my pills. I always take the bill. You never will. And I can't take it. Think we should break it. 'Cause I don't think that we can make it. And I just can't fake it anymore. No more. No more. No more. I think my head's gonna explode. I can't do this on hard mode. I can't call you on the phone. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. truly understand. I'm just scared of you leaving, 'cause I'll be alone again. No, this is the sad goodbye. I'll always be with you. So darling, don't cry, because I'm crying too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really hope you guys enjoy. If you want to listen to more of my music, you can find me Nana with an upside down exclamation point. It's kind of hard to, maneuver that on a keyboard, but I have my songs are on Spotify, Apple Music. You can also find me on Bandcamp, and I think a few other streaming services as well. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to be in your space. Thank you.
Wow, that was beautiful. I definitely am interested in hearing more. That was so good. Thank you for that. I also just want to draw everybody's attention to these animations on the wall here. This is fully a multimedia event here. So some of the animation artists you're seeing are in the room tonight as well. So just take a look at some of that great work being done by artists here in White River Junction. All right, I want to welcome up here Jolivette, the Poet Warrior. Welcome.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you all for having me here. I'm going to dedicate this to Sam. It's been decades, right? So I think I'm going to pull back some stuff from Mississippi, but anytime I perform, I like to do a snippet from an ancestor. So tonight it's Maya Angelou. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model's size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curve of my lips. I am a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. So I had planned to share with you all the workings of a poem. I'm editing my dissertation, and I'm really, really exhausted with it. But I passed my exams just with edits, so it's just the writing part. So I'm reading this book, and it's about one of Frederick Douglass's speeches called Man from Another Country. It's all about the Constitution and how we interpret it. And I just started, none of that really makes sense to me until I put it in an artistic form. But you're not going to hear that one. I'm just going to go way, way back, okay? I'll share that another time. I hope I love this space, by the way. Okay. Does anybody here know what grits are? Okay. Because sometimes y'all people from Vermont, just, you make me a little nervous when you don't know what grits are. I'm from the South, okay? I'm from Louisiana. 10 years in Mississippi before moving to Indiana, where she was born. While resting in the womb of Helen, conceived sometime in November of '67, time ticked. Heard a bang in Tennessee, I kicked. Mama felt me. Daddy heard the noise she made, said to her, "What's wrong with you today?" 5 months pregnant, how could she know the child she carried moving in her soul? Kicked so she would not be afraid. The child will lead you to peace, always. I kicked when they killed in April 68. I fell from mama's womb, straight from God's gate. I kicked when they killed on that balcony in Tennessee. Somewhere in Louisiana, Jolivette was born free. 55 years, the second hand still ticks. 55 years, I kick and I kick. Others born that same year may not have heard what I still hear. Tick, 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 tick. I still kick. I still kick. She said she picked cotton in the field all day to make less than a dime. I said, "Mama, you got to be joking." She said, "Child, we was colored once upon a time." He say his daddy was a farmer who paid $5 an acre for his land. For this legacy, I am grateful, but there's something I don't understand. The difficulties of his existence bewilder and confuse my mind till my daddy said, "Jolivette, you know, we were colored once upon a time." Now I'm here in the world trying to carve myself a niche. The things I see, the words I hear are foreign to the way I was reared. I was released from daddy. I took root in mama's womb. I rested 9 months. In the 5th, I heard a boom. I sensed the world in turmoil. The fluids around me were a raging sea. I could not wait to get here to help solve this mystery. The reason we move from shade to shade, color to color, age to age, I could not wait to get here. An answer I'm determined to find. Why, oh why were we called colored once upon a time? I'm what you call, thank you. A lot of times when I do this next poem, people don't know what box to put me in. I advise not to put me in any boxes, all right? It's not gonna work out well for any of us, all right? So, I'm gonna share something from this book that I wrote back in 2001-ish. No, that's not true, 1999-ish. That's how old I am, I can't remember. It's called Past Lives Still Living, Traveling the Pathways to Freedom. And I was on tour with the Rosa Parks Institute back in 1997 when our bus was in a really bad situation, accident. And after that accident, I went through this kind of change, this change, right? Questioning everything, and intellectually curious, spiritually curious, all of these things. So I'm gonna share a piece of this writing, and not proselytizing or anything, so just don't think the poem is asking you to become anything that you're not. And these are the words of a backsliding Baptist from the South. I'm glad some of y'all laughed. Some of y'all looked at me real strange. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Oh, children, wade. Help me out. In the water. Wade in the water. Children, wade. In the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Take me to the water, wade in the water, up from the water, baptized and born again. None but the righteous, I know I got religion. Saved, sanctified, and holy, you go tell them I'm a child of the King. 'Cause somebody prayed for me. Somebody, somewhere prayed for me. They took me to the water when I was 7 years old, sitting on the back pew of Galilee Baptist Church. Reverend Davis asked during revival night if anyone wanted to give their life to the Lord. I hadn't been paying much attention until I heard those words. I said to my mama, "Mama, I want to be baptized." She said, "Well, go on up there then." I stepped out of the pew and into the aisle. A draft caught the ruffle of my dress. I looked at my daddy and he was surprised. Then he smiled. "Take me to the water, wade in the water, up from the water, baptized and born again. None but the righteous I know I got religion, saved, sanctified, and holy. Go tell him I'm a child of the King, because somebody prayed for me. Young Miss Anderson, why do you want to join church?" "I believe in the Lord, and I want to be baptized." Jareen, my sister, started laughing. Mama, Daddy, and my dear smiled, and I got to sit on the front pew for the rest of revival. Mama dressed me in all white, a robe and a head wrap around my head. My hair was freshly hot combed with curls, and it didn't matter that it was going to get wet. We were running late. I walked in and went straight to the choir stand where a tub built into the church wall stood. I saw Reverend Davis baptize my friend Sheila. I stepped out of line, ran to my dad, and said, "Is he going to hold me under there a long time?" "No," Daddy said. "You don't have to be scared. Should I hold my breath like I do in swim class?" Daddy said yes, and I was ready. I stepped up on the ladder. Uncle Peter helped me in. The water was cold and it smelled fishy. Reverend Davis put his hand over my face and said, "Young Sister Anderson, you have stood before the church and confessed your belief in Christ. Now I baptize you in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost." And he gently dunked my head under the water while my Uncle Peter held my body. I remember this day very clearly, because when I came up from the water, the first thing I saw was my mama and daddy's tears. Take me to the water, wade in the water, up from the water, baptized and born again. None but the righteous I know I got religion, saved, sanctified, and holy. Y'all go tell them, woo, I'm a child of the King, because somebody, somewhere, prayed for me. Wade in the water, joyful version. Wade in the water, children, wade. Come on. In the water, I can't hear you. God's gonna trouble the water. Oh, children, wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Thank you. Shay recognizes me. I want to say that I love, in the interest of time, I'm going to chill. I want to say that I find it rewarding and refreshing to share stories about how I grew up in the South as a 50-something-year-old woman, because I find that a lot of people in Vermont are not familiar with the South. And when I say I'm a Black Southerner and I embrace that fully, people are confused because of the stereotypical images about what we've heard the South to be like and about. So two things can be true and occupy your mind at the same time. You can be beautiful, loving, joyful experience growing up in the segregated Black neighborhood I grew up in, and also deal with the fact that I'm from Bloody Kettle Parish, Shreveport, Louisiana. Same place that New Speaker from, by the way. So I know him. I don't know him. Oh, but I know him, okay? Okay, you feel me, okay? Have a nice night.
Wow, Thank you so much, Jolivette. That was amazing. I'm really blown away tonight just by the caliber of talent here, which is one of the reasons why I love this work. I get to interact with so many incredible poets. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Our last poet of the evening needs no introduction. As I said, one of the reasons why I love this work is the caliber of poets I get to interact with. Former Vermont Poet Laureate Sidney Lee is with us this evening and is going to read us some of his work from his latest book that has been released. Thank you so much for joining us, Sidney, and welcome.
It was, and when Vivek was talking about we were colored at one time, I was immediately put in mind of my dad in World War II. Probably 8 out of 10 contemporary Americans don't know that American troops were segregated until President Truman, by executive order, desegregated those troops. That was important to my dad because he was the company commander of so-called colored troops in World War II. They were stationed in Gadsden, Alabama, before they went overseas, where many of his troops were killed for a country that wouldn't let them vote, wouldn't let them own property, and after the war gave them none of the benefits of the GI Bill that other soldiers enjoyed. And that he recalled Lena Horne coming to entertain the troops, and the African-American soldiers having to stand in the back of the auditorium. It didn't sit right with him, and it still doesn't sit right with me, but I'm disappointed, having been there in the early 60s and hearing about the dream. I can only imagine how disappointed he would be. He died shortly after Dr. King addressed the nation. At any rate, I shouldn't be up here using this as a political platform, but there's a bill in Congress which will grant the few surviving and the descendants of black troops who did not get any of the benefits of the GI Bill to see that they do. It doesn't have one fucking single Republican vote. So we got a job to do, and there's no sense pretending that that's not where it's at. No sense pretending there's no such thing as structural racism in America. I mean, the people that deny that really live on a different planet, or as I wish they would, but at any rate. Anyway, onward. I have two grandchildren, three grandchildren, who really look more like you two than they look like me. And I can remember when the first pair were born, they were twins, and I remember picking them up and thinking, you know, all you've done so far in your life is breathe. And there are already people who hate you. Anyway, I know I'm preaching to the choir in many respects, but a lot was going through my mind as you three performed for us. Oh, sorry. Well, just to, I'll turn 81 next month. Please pinch me. But you would have known that because this first poem, which is called Hi-Fi, remembers celebrating the acquisition of what was called hi-fi in those days. Instead of a tabletop Victrola, as we said, there was this thing that we actually lived in my grandma's house, all five of us, and my mom and dad, and she was the one who wanted it because she pretended to be a music lover, but she got the hi-fi system, which enabled her to sleep to it as she did at the Symphony Hall. So that was good. Anyway, but I remember first hearing it, and just remembers that I must have been, I think it was in 1952, so I was still 9. Hi-Fi. I think both little sisters were still too young for school. We brothers not many years older. I suspect that what I say is more than a bit sentimental and may not have a basis in anything real back then. So be it, but let me keep it. The 5 of us hearing the tune, the strings and horns so alive. It's good to be where we are near our parents' new hi-fi, which spills into every corner. The fidelity, almost shocking. They've told us about its wonders, and now at last they own one. Having adjusted some knob, they stand stone still for a moment, as if in a sort of trance. Of course, they're both long gone, so of course they no longer dance, cheeks touching or anyhow. But as long as I say so, they do. Indeed, the song I hear now is precisely cheek to cheek. Now, why would it talk about swimming in a river or a creek? Or maybe it's actually fishing. Who cares? Strange bliss pours forth as long as the record keeps spinning. Sickness, regret, and death will all arrive in time. And rancor. I won't forget them rancor. This evening, however, we brothers and sisters watch and chanted 5 children together on the couch with the fancy lace, where our faithful parents glide in what looks like a fond embrace. Thank you. If you're inclined to give it, I want you to hold the applause at the end. That way I won't know whether I've done well or not until the very end. This is that's what I'm going to read. This is the title poem of this book. This is a ratty copy of it. I chose to read from it because the cover came off it somehow or another. But anyway, it's called What Shines, and I had what shall I call it, a complex relationship with my mother, who was in many, many ways a wonderful woman, but particularly after my dad died, she had a lifelong struggle with addiction to alcohol and to prescription drugs. And, you get to a certain age, at 81, the knock on the door is probably closer than you want to imagine. So I started thinking back on things, and one of the things that was curious to me as I put this book together was how I felt about things then, as in that poem about the hi-fi, and how I look back on them now. And I want to see, well, the poem I think will explain itself. What shines? Astonishing, this never-ending effort to have had a happy childhood. Why does it matter now? Why will yourself into all that forgetting? She may have been a good mother, at least she tried. Or did she? Once again, you're the one who's trying. You contend you do remember moments that glow. You picture her standing one day in the snow, her teeth in a chatter, no doubt, and yet she still looked quite cheerful. Or she seemed to be trying, as you are. The teeth, at least, were one good feature, radiant to the end. You are poised at the top of a hill on a flexible flyer, red sled that shone, your Christmas present at 9. It may have brought you joy. You're trying to alter the downslope rush to make it shiny too, to blot out the icicles of snot, the raw fingers, chilblains, pain. A father was there, a good man. He was now no more than a specter, whose presence is no more advantageous than on that day. Or was it of some avail? You can't remember. You honestly can't remember. Perhaps you just don't want to. You're doing well, at least you're trying. With this, your obstinate bid to sweep off misfortune, to see if there's anything more than only sorrow. Well, there were certain instances. You say, I remember stones. You say, I saw a beach by moonlight. And did those pebbles glint like stars, as you insist? You yearn to be sure clouds never came to eclipse them. You keep on trying. There's that pervasive gleam along the shore. Then you take a step, and suddenly there's nothing. Partners and partners. My beloved wife of 43 years had a series of shoulder operations. That local Alice Peck Day Hospital, done by the same guy who did my knees. He's very good, but she has this unfortunate characteristic of developing great scar tissue after incisions, so she had to have 2 subsequent operations to to get to tear away the scar tissue in effect and give her some range of motion. This remembers one of those moments. It's called Partners and Partners. In the pre-op room, my wife was given a scalene block for a brief procedure. She had a shoulder surgery some time back, and now again they'll anesthetize her to break up scars that have kept her in pain. She'll be comatose, however briefly. I remember right off now how one's love can seldom appear so precious as on a gurney. I feel what I felt on watching her labor to give birth to our children, but I won't be on hand for this episode. I sit in the lobby, alone except for one other old man in a black cowboy hat who's waiting like me for a wife to come too. He's plunging his fingers into her purse and digs around inside. In search of what, I wonder? I can't decode his half-audible mumbles or his face's expression. On the trip here from home, we hit black ice on a busy road in this busy small town. My pickup spun on the slick in what passes for rush hour here. The fact we weren't hurt defies all reason. Like Grace. The man keeps probing, and I keep wondering why. His look's still deadpan. I know very well what it is to divert one's thoughts from hurtful or frightening matters, to seek what can lift us out of the world when it threatens to tear itself to tatters. How on earth can love torture us, though? Its pain seems deepened by the length of its years. An ambulance siren winds down outside. I've been reading to keep myself busy, but now I looked up to find my cowpoke in tears. I was going to read another one about my mother, but I just want you to know I'm really a lot of fun in real life. So I'll skip that one. This one is called Politics, 2023. Some of you will, if you've spent time in the Northeast Kingdom, you'll recognize the kind of town I'm talking about. Politics, 2023. The long-haired cat in my rearview mirror, flat on the tarmac. Was it racing for a freedom it would never know? Did it flee a coddled life? Not much I passed would suggest as much. Double wides with Dixie flags, pastel-sided like cheap Florida motels, appear somehow to glare at each other across a minuscule yard full of kids' toys. Everything's muddied by rain. This latest shower darkens the coats of 3 ribby ponies. I wonder, do they ever get ridden? They vacantly gaze over paddock wire, but at a distance. They have their reasons. Yellow insulators suffice to remind them electric shock will greet a touch. They all seem well beyond any penchant to fight their fate. The eyes of a tethered pit bull glitter, he'd like to get at them. Now I cruise through town, the dead axe factory, empty storefronts, Dollar General. For some reason, a few men shriek at a sopping few on the opposite sidewalk. One man who doesn't look lame keeps shaking a cane. I don't know a thing. I keep going. I'm a lucky man. I get along with most people I know, who get along with most they know. Some of us treasured friendships for ages. Feigning unconcerned, though, why would these strangers care about me? I sing along with country tunes on a radio station. So easy to harmonize. The same 3 chords every song. Do what you can for harmony in an unharmonious world. Suspension. My wife and I own a little cabin on the New Brunswick border in Maine that I bought in 1967 for $500. And it's not close to anything, which is one of its charms, until the 5 kids show up with 7 grandchildren, and then it's a whole different atmosphere. But when we're alone, it's a little like this. It's called suspension. Seasons of the strawberry moon, the Algonquins called it. The berries ripen in June. We see them along what's left of ancient tote roads. Some say rose moon, some say hot. We won't be, but if we were forced to forage, those shy red baubles wouldn't start to stifle our hunger. If solitude can be shared, we share it here in our cabin, deep in the woods. Don't ask where it is. There are gullible perch in the lake, underdamp duff in the forest, small worms for bait. We own a stable canoe. Rain dripped all day from the eaves, then blue broke through exactly on time for moon to delete it. Our crackly portable radio says fair tomorrow, hot but pleasant. More good fortune. What did we do to deserve this? In a jagged row at our clearing's edge, wild roses glow like gemstones splayed on felt. Mere minutes before the darkness yields to moonlight too, and they go wan. We noticed a damselfly drying its wings in late afternoon on a wall beneath the eaves. It lifted just at dusk to hover briefly over its tiny world, just as we do over ours. When at the height of the whole COVID thing, we didn't get out too much, you know. I shared that with a lot of people, I'm sure. And so not socializing much, I kind of looked around the house for things to write about. And the last section of this book takes commonplace daily objects that I see all the time. An old carved wooden duck decoy that came from God knows where. A model ship made completely out of cattle horn that my beloved mother-in-law gave to us. I don't know where the hell she found it either, but things of that nature. A Foldy burner on the stove. And I called the sequence Animate Objects. I'm not a terribly meditative person, but what I would do is I would look at these objects until something occurred to me. Some ghost story behind it, you know. And I don't even know why I'm telling you that, because I'm not going to read anything from it. But but the other thing that I did when I exhausted the objects in the house, I came up with this cockamamie method of taking. I would read almost anything. It didn't matter whether it was a political tract or a novel or somebody's poetry, and I would write down 10 words from it that caught my attention. And then I'd try and write the poem that somehow bound them together. And I assumed they could be bound together because I was the one that noticed them. I mean, they must have stopped me in my tracks for some reason. And this is one of them, though I can't remember what the words were in all frankness. It's called Disappearances. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold. Disappearances. Wrapped, an old man inspects his living room mirror, but not for his image. Instead, its angle subtly reflects the light of a stub of candle on the silent piano. He might say the reflection shimmers, but the years, though blessed, have jaded him some. He'd rather avoid such a hackneyed word, but he's also abandoned the urge to think up a better. A train comes to mind, though he doesn't know why. He can't recall when it was he saw it, or even if, but it seems some caboose's lantern lodged in his mind a lifetime ago, its glow growing distant. Was it even then a matter of things he longed for, fading? The rattle and click on the tracks make a poignant song. He'd rather ignore its meaning, clearer now than ever. I'll do 2 more. Not too terribly long, get you all home. This one's called Mythology. Mythology. That I had to stay out of the pond for half an hour after I ate. That my grandmother selflessly rolled dressings for Yanks who'd been wounded in World War II. That her uniform hung in our parents' cedar closet, but somehow disappeared. Perhaps there were thugs in masks who grabbed it and lammed. Oh, sure. I invented my own little myth as a boy 6 decades back. That if I thought hard about her in the shower, a girl would appear by magic and she'd adore me. The spray from the head, the very ichor of Eros. Never happened. I never thought hard enough, maybe, or maybe I couldn't picture which girl I wanted, which has changed. That whoever threw the first punch in a fist fight would always win. I have some scars to disprove that one. That marriage went dull, its physical fervors quashed by the passage of time. Depends on whom you're paired with, I testify. I wear 2 wedding rings, the first for day 1, the other for 15 years, and I'll need another soon for 45. If this is a trap, don't set me free. Such sentiment was hardly the point, if indeed there was one when I began. Ah, well, all's well, said the fabulous bard that ends well, as I've found, like a wondrous myth, like a fairy tale. And finally, my grandmother, who owned the house that she was born in and my mother was born in and we lived in, was an amateur painter, and not a very good one at all, the truth be known. And I think she knew it. And I'll tell you one little anecdote. At the end of her painting career, now mind you, she lived to be 98, so that was long into my adulthood. She produced a masterpiece. It was remarkable, but there it was. It was a little bit like Millet's Gleaners. It was apple pickers picking up apples, obviously late in the season. All the leaves are gone from the trees. The windfall fruit is on the ground. And I really liked it. So when she was getting on in years, I said, can I have that painting? I really would like to have that painting. And she said, well, I've promised it to your Uncle Ned. Now, Uncle Ned was a man who came to visit with us because it was really hot in the city and my grandmother liked him. And he stayed for 25 years. Which was a great thing because I suspect I'm quite sure he was a gay man in retrospect and closeted in the manner of the time. But he was great company for my grandmother. He would take her wherever she wanted to go. My parents were pretty much homebodies, but he'd take her to the movies or to the symphony or to a play or whatever it might be. And so she had promised this painting to Uncle Ned. Now, my dad died in 1966. Uncle Ned said, well, it doesn't look right for me to be living in the house with a widow. You know, I got to move out. So he moved back downtown, and I helped him move. And the last thing we took in was this painting. And I said, well, where do you want this, Uncle Ned? He said, well, just put it in the hallway right there, and I'll try and figure out where I'm going to hang it. 17 years later, I came to give a reading at the University of Pennsylvania and stayed with Uncle Ned with my wife. I walked into the hallway, and there was that same goddamn painting in the same place. It had never been moved. But he still wouldn't give it up. Anyway, this is just kind of a funny story, but this painting refers, this poem refers to that painting and to my relationship, our relationship with my grandmother, who was a wonderfully generous and big-hearted lady, except when it came to that picture. She wouldn't give anything. It's called Compensation, the Apple Pickers. As ever, she steadied the paper with her left hand, the right one wielding a nub of charcoal. This time she worked on a sketch for what would become her painting of 11th hour apple pickers. No later, too late. But she wanted November. Frost on grass, ghost white, fragile as silence, against which her figures would be stationed, the pillow of leaves below the tree, umber, gray. Subtle shades she rightly considered a challenge. Well, everything challenged her because, and she likely knew it, the brute fact was she painted poorly. And thus her grandchildren all believed it a marvel after the sketch gave way to canvas and oils that the picture proved brilliant, as if it were crossed by magic. It implied unseen things, for instance, crows, which showed nowhere in what she produced, could still be heard nearby and raucous outside the frame. And we caught the scent of windfall fruit, or rather I did, as I never told my siblings for fear of being taunted. All of us loved her and laughed at her too. We'd spy on her as she studied the easel on her sun porch, biting her lip, shaking her head, then dabbing again at the palette, lost in thought, no doubt. Mara laughed to be forgiven. We were ignorant, not callous. Like her, if only once in our lifetimes, may we be gifted with something that transports us beyond mere chronological measure, as she was by her one good painting, which compensated her for ongoing griefs, losing a son to the flu epidemic, and then soon after losing her husband. The apple pickers seems to have been her stingy muse's gift, not just for her valor, but for her persistence, for simply putting in time. Thank you. I'm remiss also in not having mentioned right at the start that I'm absolutely delighted to be in this company musical, well, yours is both, but yeah, musical, poetic, oratorical, and I'm very grateful to Samantha for providing the space and to Drew and the people at Sundog for doing what they do. So keep doing it. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Let's hear it one more time for all of the presenters. You can learn more about what we do at Sundog at our website, sundogpoetry.org. If any of you have connections to high school poets in the state, let them know that in 2024 we're going to be launching a Vermont chapter of the National Youth Poet Laureate program. So spread the word around. We will be announcing that very soon. Thank you again. Drive safe.